and they say, we've seen people come in here shut up and with a higher hemoglobin count, and they're not on their feet. How are you on your feet on a hemoglobin of count 4? And the only thing I could say is that my ancestors had me, and my spirit, my inner being is extremely strong. Hey guys, I'm AJ.
I'm Shanique.
I'm Tazi.
So in 2018, we quit our jobs to travel the world and live a freedom lifestyle.
We wanted to share our journey with you.
So welcome to the family.
What's up, family? What's up, family? What's up, family? I'm AJ and I'm with the lovely
Chi.
Nice to see you again.
We're FroFamilyTravels and we're back with another video.
One.
Yeah, so today I wanted to talk about why you need health insurance. We had to make a claim on our health insurance while we were living abroad, and I thought we'd never actually sat down and talked about what happened.
Yeah.
It was 4 years ago, nearly 4 years
goodness.
ago that this happened, and we've been on such a whirlwind since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is our first kind of real opportunity to sit down and talk about it, and kind of what ensued from there. So I'm gonna hand over to you because this is your story, really.
It's my story, but you also viewed it too. So I guess it's a part of our story. What happened? Well, let's start at the end. I was in hospital.
In Mexico.
In Mexico, yeah. And I had a blood transfusion.
Two
blood transfusions
yeah.
because I was losing blood. And essentially, they still don't know why that is. I did everything from an endoscopy to a colonoscopy in 2 different countries, both in Mexico and in Ghana. And there was only one result that came back saying there's a little polyp somewhere. Polyp. But I looked, actually, funny enough, I found the paperwork 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
And I looked over everything and it says no sign of anything. You know, even though it says there's blood previously, but from the areas we've checked, there's no sign of it. My conclusion to all of this is that it was all mental. It was all mentally done. And then to fast forward to, I guess, in the beginning.
Fast forward, then rewind.
Rewind, fast forward, time, interloop. It all started when I guess I was going a bit too hard.
So the year was 2020.
So we're doing it that way.
Yeah.
So the year was 2020. In the final quarter of the year, and I was fasting, and I was meditating, and I was working out. I was waking up
too hard.
and working too hard. Yes, I was waking up around 4 o'clock, and I would go to the beach to meditate, to welcome in the sunrise. And I was have a workout in the morning, and I had a mini workout in around lunchtime. Then I had another workout in the evening, and I was only sleeping for, I don't know, maybe 4 to 5 hours.
And then not hydrating.
And the main culprit behind this was that I was not hydrating myself enough. And if you know anything about Mexico, one thing you will learn is that you need hydrate. There literally are liquids in Mexico, electrolytes, that you don't really see anywhere else in that much volume. But you have to hydrate yourself in Mexico, and I was not doing this. And so in the house one day, it was happening over a while, and I felt a little bit weak. I went to the bathroom, and my stool it started off being really red, and then it was tar black. Imagine like you're pouring tar on the road when you're putting down the road. That color. And, you know, I'd fainted in the house, and so that was scary. And Shanique had to call the medical services in Mexico. from what I remember at least, they came, and I remember going to the bathroom. Then I know I fell, and then I remember waking up in the bed, and then they gave me some, I can't remember exactly what they gave me, but then I was seated, laying down in the bed for a day or two, and then I had to go back because I was like, no, I don't feel good. I wasn't sleeping, and I was probably
Everything was coming up as well. I think you were vomiting a lot.
couldn't eat. I was only drinking.
Yeah, you were having a lot of liquid. We were doing soups, like green juices, because you couldn't keep anything down.
Yeah.
So we were kind of mainly doing like liquids only, lots of coconut water. You did have liquid IVs as well, but it just didn't seem to be enough.
Yeah. And so I remember walking one day to go to get the taxi, and
we were trying to get to the hospital.
And I think I had some water before I left, and on the side of the road I threw everything up. Everything. I remember that clearly. And we managed to get a taxi that was just coming by us at that moment. And I remember feeling very weak then. And when we got to the hospital, as a man, you know, my size, I am 5'10", and about right now I'm 13 stone something. Around that size, your hemoglobin is supposed to be between I think it's 11 and 13. When I got to the hospital, they say my hemoglobin count was at a 4. And they say, we've seen people come in here shot up and with a higher hemoglobin count, and they're not on their feet. How are you on your feet on a hemoglobin of count 4? And the only thing I could say is that my ancestors had me, and my spirit, my inner being is extremely strong. So, in the bed, in the hospital, hooked up, I remember that picture that you took, hooked up, wires in me, Shanique with a little baby. We had to call on friends to support us. This is why community is important to us. And they had Taji. I looked after Taji while Shanique was with me in the hospital. And mind you, this was at height of COVID too.
Yeah, so we actually ended up having to change hospitals. We went to one hospital first because the first one wouldn't see you unless you did a COVID test or something. I can't remember. They wouldn't treat him without a COVID test, which we were kind of trying to avoid.
Yeah.
We knew it wasn't COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up having to call our friends, and they took us to the second hospital, and they took Taji at that same time. And yeah, they had Taji. The second hospital, of course, they were like priority, like you just need to get seen. Like,
exactly.
Let's deal with the most important thing, is getting you well and getting you blood and more liquids.
Got liquid within about 5-10 minutes.
Not long. We didn't have to wait long at all. I
Got
think
a
like
bed
the initial
in about
thing,
20 minutes.
the initial thing
Paperwork.
was like checking you in and you know, kind of that stuff, and then of course you have to, in Mexico you have to pay up front, so we had to pay a deposit of £2,500, $2,500 US dollars at first, and then when it was found out that he was going to need 2 blood transfusions, we had to pay another $2,500 as well. So it was really costly at that time. You know, we had some savings, but $5,000 up front is quite a stretch for anyone. So, and you know, bearing in mind that we weren't going to get that back until we would get reimbursed by, you know, hoping that we would get reimbursed by our travel insurance, by our insurers. So, yeah, that was quite costly.
It was, and it knocked us.
It did.
It really knocked us, and we've been recovering since that. But this video is mainly about the actual importance behind having insurance, because I never expected it. I really didn't, and it sounds a bit cliche and all that stuff, but I'm young, I'm strong, I'm in good health. I've never visited the hospital, from the day I came out my mother, except from once when I had to get slit on my finger because something was stuck in my hand. But I've never been to the hospital.
It's one of those things you think it would never happen to
Never.
us. And
come on.
And
now.
I'm just so grateful that we actually had the insurance, because looking at that bill, which was like nearly $20,000 US.
Bill came true.
We only paid $5 up front, thankfully, because we had insurance. That was reimbursed, and the insurance took care of the rest.
Yeah.
If we didn't have insurance, we would have been $20,000 US out. Not just that, it's, of course, after he'd done, got the blood transfusions, ran all the tests, it took a lot out of him. I think you were, out of action then for like 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
Longer.
At least. That was just kind of initial recovery. And bearing in mind, like you said, this is kind of the height of the pandemic, and during that year was actually like one of our best years,
my best year
like
in business.
Financially, like at that time. And so to go from, the income's just like this to he can't, and he was a active web developer. And so, he's got clients expecting websites to be delivered, to just be like, everything's got to like shut down. And, we have passive income. Thankfully, like that's basically what got us through like the 2 months. If we didn't have any passive income, I have no idea what we would have done.
And our parents helped out as well.
We had some support from our family as well, but so thankfully we were able to get through that period, and I was still trying to teach, but we got a young child. It was not
possible because I didn't have any energy.
No.
And I was to the point where you said the recovery was 6 weeks, but it was actually quite long. It was longer because we then went to Colombia. And I remember in Colombia, I could only sleep for 20 minutes a day. So I got over the physical ailments. But what I didn't expect to happen was the mental side to kick in. The mental part took a very long... Even to this day, I'm still working on the mental. The mental part took a longer time to work itself to a place where I'm okay. Yeah. I've never had any mental stress in terms of mental stretching of the mind. And one of my clients who was actually into that field, she's like, you had a mental breakdown. And it's the first time I thought about it. I'm like, damn, I did. I'm talking lucid kind of dreaming where my mind, I would just sit and watch my mind doing Inception. And I was only sleeping for 20 minutes a day. I remember that. And I could only drink a little tea for the whole 24 hours. And I felt me walking. I was walking only in spirit. I'm telling you. And I was mindful that I don't want to, give that energy over to her and also to Taji. I had to speak to Taji, a little girl, a baby. And I'm like, oh my, no. And I continued from Colombia and also into Ghana. So it took a longer time because then the mental would, whenever it triggered certain things, what I was having around the time, planting, chocolate and all, coffee, it triggered every time I see those things or consume them or taste them, it would trigger the bleeding again. And I'm like...
Yeah, it kept happening a few times.
What on earth?
Yeah.
So then I had to go back and mentally work on those trigger points and change the relationship that I was having with them so that I could overcome them. And thank goodness I had the strength to go within and work on them to the point where now I can have those things. But I still need to do a lot of work still. I need to do a ton more work. But my mind isn't stretched anymore. I am at peace in my mind. I can shut my mind down to some degree now. But before I had no control of it. None. So it took a longer time for me. So I couldn't work for a very long time.
Yeah, couldn't work. So I actually took over in building a lot of the websites for him and teaching.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, thankfully we did have some passive income as well. So it was tough. It was really tough, and it was tough for me. You know, obviously I didn't like physically go through it as well, but yeah, mentally I really struggled, and I've kind of never really talked about this, but I ended up having what I thought was kind of a normal period, and then it just didn't stop for a period of 6 weeks non-stop. I was bleeding, and it was literally the trauma of, you know, what I would call a near-death experience, you know, of my partner, and not knowing
literally
what was going to happen, and, you know, being thousands of miles away from our family and only being able to communicate with them over phone, video. Your mum was just like besides herself, the family, you know, everyone's just feeling really helpless because they weren't here, they weren't with us. You know, having to essentially look after him, look after myself and Taji via myself. It really took a toll, and I ended up I had to go to the doctor myself, you know, to figure out what was going on with me, and she ended up just like prescribing me with the pill, and I hated that, made me feel even worse. So I stopped taking that, and just had to kind of heal myself from the trauma and kind of worked it out myself essentially, which thankfully I was able to do. But yeah, it was a lot, and this is, again, like you said, one of the main reasons why we are so big on community now, because if we didn't have our people in Mexico at that very time, who we had actually only met a few weeks prior to that incident, literally only met them a few weeks prior to that incident, and they were literally like walking angels
literally
for us, because they kept Taji for nearly 4 days. And while AJ was in the hospital, it was a true godsend for us, and I don't know what we would have done without them. So yeah, we're truly grateful for having them around us. And so this is why we are like, whenever we move to a new place, like one of the most integral things for us now is ensuring that we have a strong community around us, and you know, that we can build that support system and know we've got those people around us. But yeah, we wanted to just highlight the importance of having insurance, having community. You cannot do this by yourself. No, you are not meant to do this by yourself. We all like to think that these things would never happen.
Listen, man, take it from me.
They happen.
It happens. And I'm somebody who's strong. I'm strong in mind.
You know, like to think healthy. We're healthy as well.
Never been to the hospital, to the doctors.
Generally we don't. Like, I've only been to the hospital really like for birth, like giving birth.
Exactly.
So
look,
yeah, it can happen.
I don't care who you are. Just get the insurance and done.
Yeah.
Don't question it. Just get the insurance. You may think like, oh, insurance is gonna cost this much. Listen, man, get the insurance. Find a community.
Yeah.
Because those things are life savers. Literally. And I don't mean that lightly. Life savers. So, look, you've been on this for 18 minutes. If you made it this far, look, man, just click on the link I'll put in the bottom. These are some good people, insurance people. Or you can do your own research.
Into the community. Yeah, I'm going to drop a couple of blogs, one for Safetywing, which is who is our insurance providers. I will also share some other options. Of course, you don't have to go with what who we choose to go for, but it's a great company. They're affordable. They pay out. We've actually used them twice, and they have paid out on both occasions. So yeah, it's a cost-effective solution for supporting you in this journey abroad, which we recommend. 100%.
Anyway,
so yeah,
that's it, people.
It from us.
As always, peace.
See you in the next one.